when we're comparing nCAC to LTV amount, it purely comes down to the client and how long they're willing to wait to get their money back. Just so I can get us to refocus on metrics. So there's a bunch of business metrics that we want to look at when we're trying to identify the stage of businesses and how viable this business is, how much scalability, because you're always going to hit a point of diminishing return with whatever business you come at, right? So you got to be able to understand your metrics, know where to pull and where to push, right? So starting off, we have our very first one besides CAC, which is basically cost for acquiring a customer, and then nCAC, which is cost for acquiring a new customer. Cost for acquiring so which one is always going to be higher, the cost for acquiring a customer or new customer? Not you,
New
Andrew.
one.
New one.
New one.
Yep. So why is that?
Because cold traffic is more expensive in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, and because if we have 100 customers and 40 of them are new, we spent, let's just say $100, I don't know, $1,000 to get those 40 new customers. It cost us, what is it, $100 for new customer, and then roughly 200 for the new customer. So it's just the ratio split, right? So if you have a good ratio of new customers in comparison to return customers, it's going to cost you less. But if you have more return customers, then new customers going to cost you more, right? Then you have your MER and your new customer MER. It's the same concept, media efficiency ratio, which is essentially, someone tell me what MER is.
I want to go back to the CAC for 1 second.
Go ahead.
Do you find anyone actually uses just CAC and not nCAC? Like, I find people using CAC when they should be using nCAC. And I wonder if we should sit there for a second, because I think these get confused.
So there's different scenarios where I would use them. CAC is just an overall to acquire a customer, which would be new and return. I personally like using nCAC more because all my numbers are based off of when I'm directly correlating a new customer to their 1, 3, 6, and 9 month LTV numbers, right? So if I can acquire a new customer, let's just say, I don't know, what is Green saying? Oh, what is Tina saying? But the reason I look at nCAC more is because I can look at it in terms of a 1, 3, 6, and a 12, 9 month, whatever LTV amount. So if I'm running, so you're making me get ahead of myself, Kobe.
I'm gonna stop. I'll stop. This is good though. We're having good conversation. I don't want to kill it, but let's keep doing this.
But now that we're on the topic of nCAC and LTV, the reason nCAC is a good metric in comparison to LTV, you can lose money trying to get that first customer in through the door. So let's say you have a subscription model that costs you, someone give me a number, $50 a month, right? That costs $50, and to get that customer, it costs you $150, right? To get a new customer in, it costs you $150, right? When we're comparing nCAC to LTV amount, it purely comes down to the client and how long they're willing to wait to get their money back. If they have, let's just say, a 9 month their churn rate in terms of a subscription model, and they want to be profitable month 3, you could spend up to $150 to get that new customer in the door, and you'll be fine, right? And if they're okay with, let's say they want to be profitable after 6 months and maintain the 3 months profit, right, which is 50 times 6, 300. So you can spend up to 300 to get that new customer in through that door, right, to be profitable. So that's how you want to look at LTVs. At the same time, you can look at other businesses as well. So if we're taking another business into account for this, we'll take one that requires people to buy again, and then we'll take another one that doesn't. So something that people will buy over and over again. Let's just take supplements and skincare. Now, someone give me something else that someone's not going to buy as often. Colby's old client. Which one? Do you know? So I know for like skincare and supplements, people buy, their return rates are like 15, 16% every month, where people come back in solid amounts. So the first month LTV might be 100. The second month, like 3 months in, it'll be 150. 6 months in, it'll be like 180. And by like month 12, LTV would be like $200, right? And then what about sound equipments, Andrew? What's the LTV on that for like an estimate 3.6?
I mean, LTV doesn't really exist. It's just straight AOV, because it's like it's like a one-time
thing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So for in a business like a supplement one, where let's say your 12-month LTV is $200, and they're okay spending $100 for a new customer, you can spend $100 for a new customer, even if their AOV is like $30. Doesn't matter, right? Because they're going to be worth $200 to them by the end of the year. Obviously, caveat is that you don't go around and just re-spending money on them again and remarketing the shit out of someone that's already bought that you know is going to buy again, right? So knowing your 1, 3, 6, 9, and 12-month LTV is extremely important in terms of just metrics, because then you know how much money or how valuable a new customer is to that. There's a lot of easy ways to go into looking at these, or how many new customers you got, or even if you want to calculate them yourself. So the way I usually end up looking at new customers is easily, if you want to look on a month-on-month, Shopify has this customer cohort analysis, where this number here is essentially the amount of new customers for that month, right? And these numbers here identify the return rate of those customers. So your first order, the 100% first orders in month 0, 11.13%, or 11, why did I say 13? 11.3% people came back and bought again. A month after, 8.6, then 4.4, right? So now let's say if I want to look at my 12-month LTV, this was 12 months ago, right? So if I'm looking at my 12-month LTV for this client, right, May 2020 was 12 months ago, and I have all periods selected in my whole revenue, gross revenue. There's about 3 million in what do you call it, spend, and 10,299 new customers, and 16,000 orders. So these 10,000 customers, or 10,300 customers, placed around 17,000 orders, right? With an average order value is 152. So the amount spent, the LTV, it should add up to 268 if I divide 2,938,890 divided by, yeah. So roughly, given, if, because there's always a little mismatch because of returns and stuff, this is your 12-month LTV for this business right now, based off these numbers, right? You spent 3 million, or sorry, you generated 3 million revenue. You had 10,300 new customers. That's the average a customer spent, $268. Now, let's just say when we're talking about nCACs, right? It's a skincare brand. The profit margins are around 80% here, give or take. 80 to 90% is where they're usually at. If I do 80%, that means they made $214 in gross profit, which is the next metric we're looking at after cost of goods. $214 that you have to play with across 12 months to acquire one new customer, right? Given that they're satisfied with that, right? So if, depending on how much money or how profitable the client makes, let's say they want to be profitable at 150, and they're okay with them coming back by month 12 and being profitable by month 12 or whatever it would be, right? You can spend up to $150 to $200 and still make them money here, right? Because over 12 months they'll be profitable. Go ahead, Andrew.
Is the amount spent per customer for that whole period that you're looking at over 12 months?
Yeah. So now if I just go to the first order placed by people, right, it's this amount, and the amount spent per customer 189. So it's relatively close. That's like the LTV for these guys for the first. It's basically AOV for the first order, right? Then we get into first month, and then this just breaks down the per month sale, right? And now let's say if I want to go into the 6 month or 3 month LTV, let's go back 3 months. Like if this says April, April's gone February, so we'll go February. 205 is their 3 month LTV. 1, 2, 3. 216 is their 6 month. 1, 2, 3. 262 is their 9 month, and then 1, 2, 3, whatever May. 268 is their 12 month. Did everybody follow that? That's just to do some really, really quick math across their whole thing. It's not based off of collection, just across their whole business.
Everybody, so you can realistically just kind of ballpark,
yeah,
LTV for certain periods of time just with that amount spent per customer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. everybody follow that, right? Go ahead, Jason.
Okay, so you're really heavily, first of all, accuracy in Shopify, you're heavily dependent on averages, right? And what the client is going to tell you their comfort level is and how many months. I mean, because as you go through the 12-month, their returning customer rate, especially if you're going after new traffic, it keeps declining. You know, you're at 11, you're at 10, you're at 7. You are going to lose, if you're going to pay whatever the cost is, let's say it's 200, in order to be profitable on 4 months, at month 4, you're entirely dependent on having enough profit from that 10 or 7% who actually have a $222 12-month LTV. But what about all the others that you lose that don't repeat?
So this number is with respect to all the things. So it's basically if I look at it, hold on, all from May. So we had 10,300 customers, right?
Yeah.
These 10,300 customers generated this number here, right? So this number is basically an average of this and this. So divide the two. I think it
Over
gives
12 months. Over 12
Yeah.
months.
over 12 months, right? So this is an LTV across the 12 months, essentially.
Yeah. So you're heavily dependent on the averages. And you're not worried about the
When you
fact.
say heavily dependent on the average, what do you mean? You're not worried about the fact that every customer is going to come back and buy from. There's no chance.
Yeah.
Right.
But aren't you worried about, like, if that percentage of one-time only customers is going to put you at a loss at a certain point when it's not a high enough repeat customer that comes back and orders 4 times over the next 12 months?
Based off these averages, they should, because if you're looking at a long enough duration.
I'm just saying. I guess what I'm just saying is this average, amount spent per customer. That's the 10,000 is over the course of a year. And so it's
10,000. No, this 10,000.
Yeah.
This 10,000 is the amount of new customers that came in May.
Oh yeah.
It's not over their year.
Right. It's okay. Okay. So the 10,299 times 268 is the 2.9 monthly average or monthly sales number.
This?
Yeah.
No, this is the amount of new customers that we got in the month of May 2023.
And they spent in the same month 268, and that equals the 2.938 million.
No, so these 10,300 customers that we got in May across a 12-month period spent $3 million.
Oh, across the 12-month. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is like if you have no apps and you're looking at Shopify. Obviously, there's better apps to give you better numbers, but I'm basing it off of assuming everyone has limited data. I need quick numbers, right?
Yeah, I think going on the least information that we have is better, because most situations this is really all we're gonna have.
Yeah. And then if you want to break it down, actually I won't go that's too nitty-gritty. That's for another day. But yeah. You can also start breaking it down.
It's like Northbeam does some stuff in LTV as well.
Yeah, but we'll get into that later.
Okay, then I won't say nothing.
And just to touch on Josh's point that he just made, and where he said it's about decision making based off data.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to have all the numbers like perfectly mapped out.
No.
It's just as long as everything makes sense mathematically and you're in a relatively good place, you can make the right decisions in terms of what to optimize, what to not optimize.
Yep. Agreed.
Typically, this is how everyone measures clients wise. CPA, ROAS, like what am I getting, cost per conversion, blah, 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 and what is the return on ad spend. These are the metrics that we should be counting. This is something that all of these will